I think this is our first business trip
It is. This is our first business trip together.
together. Hello.
Hi. We're
Not in our studio,
not in our studio.
which is one of our apartments.
We are coming from the road today, so it's probably a little bit of a different episode.
It is.
We might have just a short one, or we cut in between. I don't know.
We don't know.
We
We're
don't
bringing
know yet.
people along.
Yeah.
I think this is our first business trip
It is. This is our first business trip together.
together. And would you like to tell people where we are now?
Yeah, we can. So Sissi and I are in Texas.
Howdy.
It's my first time in Texas ever.
Yeah.
We are in Dallas, and it's a pro convention, which doesn't mean anything to anyone, and that's okay because it's very much an industry term.
I didn't know what it was until you told
It's
me.
not for the end customers, so no one listening probably needs to even know, but it's basically a convention for camera stores.
Yeah,
and
B2B.
Yeah, from all over this country. And so they meet up twice a year, and this is the fall pro show basically. And so there's a convention where a lot of brands are exhibiting, and it's like a buying event for camera stores. So
Yes.
yeah,
like it's my first time, and today is not even the official day for me yet. I haven't seen the back end of things, but it really feels like a marketplace in real life, just for people. It's like, sure, you can browse things, but this is when people make deals, when they show their newest thing. It's like car convention, but
yeah,
this time for like not consumer at all,
right.
which it feels like a complete honor to be here as someone who I consider myself more of a consumer, but
yeah, but
somehow.
also not, because Sissy has I don't know who needs to hear this and doesn't know that, but Sissy has these really cool do not X-ray pouches. So
Here.
and I witnessed today actually someone coming up and being like, "Oh, you do the pouches, so that's your brand." And Sissy was like, yeah, I guess so." Like, yes,
My
that's your brand.
company.
It's your company.
Yeah, thank you so much for including me on this trip. It featuring this pouch and my business, which myself and I and everyone who is willing to help me put this together. Yeah, it's unreal. For the longest time, I think I was telling your team, that I thought someone was just buying them and storing in the basement in order to support me.
Like buy 1,000 and then store them in their
just store
basement.
them somewhere, and
That's a way to do it, I guess. But I
but
think this is better.
but like, to know actually, like, stores like from anywhere in the country, big or small, telling me that they sold out a couple times and they are looking to order more, or they're a repeating customer.
Yeah.
It's insane. So thank you
Yeah.
for anyone who has purchased or supported me along the way.
Yeah, it's a cool pouch. I mean, we all fly with film and know what it means to go through security with film, and it's always a pain. And it's just a little bit less of a pain if you have this pouch, because really there's not much they can argue with you about it if it says
and
big,
if they do,
fat,
you are
do
like,
not
okay,
X-ray.
at least they say no to it.
Yeah.
And not with it's just the language barrier. Madeline, who actually, this mic, she sent it to me. So she's from Ceremonic, and she just came back from Amsterdam, and she said she used it in the airport, and throughout the travel it worked great for her because she doesn't speak Dutch. And yeah, it was like, it worked. And she said now when she traveled, people actually just recognize what is need to be done, and they don't even ask they whether do it or not do it. They just take it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a few years ago, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, when I was like, it wasn't even like, oh, is this okay with the actor? It was just like, what is that? It's film? Like, why do you, like, we've come such a long way that now it's like everyone knows there'll be film. They everyone working there now knows that's always a topic of discussion, or And now they start to know these pouches and know, like, oh, can't argue with
I
that
can't
person.
argue. It looks so
Yeah.
professional because it's printed on the,
Right.
the service.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of, and this
Mhm.
is going to lead into our topic today. So, one thing I recently learned about the decline and the renaissance of film. I was chatting with Neil, one of owner of uh, Color Lab downtown in New York City. He was telling me, when did film made that hard switch into digital?
Mhm.
It was correlated with 9/11 because that's when they installed X-ray machines. And before that, it wasn't as commonly need to be checked your luggage. And also after that, air travel was significantly reduced. So a lot of people don't even travel. Like a lot of documentary photographer just not on the road. They don't have jobs necessarily. And when people they made that hard switch into digital, even when digital wasn't ready, they just had to because it's more convenient. It saved a lot of the time and risk of not having their assignment show up on like such format. So that's when he saw the business side have that drastic decline.
Mhm.
And that was really interesting to
Yeah, I
know
didn't know that.
because I didn't truly didn't know the significance of such big event,
Mhm.
and that trickled down to so many things.
Into
So
so
the
many things. Yeah,
yeah,
it
so the
changed a lot.
X-ray
Yeah.
machine was installed
Right.
afterward,
Mhm.
and therefore the film, because beforehand film everyone shoots film, so that
Mhm.
wasn't even a concern, and only after there was a talk of
Mm.
how are we going to do this as photographer. So that was really interesting
That is
hearing from
interesting. I don't.
someone.
I'm trying to think if I flew. I'm definitely flew before 9/11. I don't remember not having X-ray machines, but maybe they
It
like
was less
less
intense.
intense ones. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so we wanted to kind of have the discussions about, because we're at a business convention for cameras and film.
Yeah.
I would love to pick your brain just to know a little bit about the backside of like photography and film photography business, if you're
Mm.
willing to share some.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
in what way? What do you?
Just can you tell people how, like, how have you seen the increase?
Okay,
How
yeah.
how has it
I
been?
mean, it's a whole, there's a lot I think we can talk about, and I haven't even been in this business for very long, right?
You've
Like
been long enough to know.
long enough to have seen some changes, but still, like, I mean, there's people here that have been doing this, and for uh their entire lives, generations. There's a lot of camera stores that have been, generational.
Generations. Yeah.
But so they had, like, they started with film, then changed everything to digital, and now, like, going back to film. And I think that's one of the very, like, interesting topics that I've seen in my time here is what the camera stores that we interact with here are a lot of, not like labs, but are a lot of like camera stores. So
Camera
they
stores.
had a type of business in, up until digital came around, that was vastly different to what the camera store is now, and they made the switch back then, and they had to throw out all the film cameras,
Mm.
completely changed to digital, and that was a big deal for them. Like, they
Mm.
basically had to all their store staff, like everyone had to learn completely different systems, and, like,
Everything.
like, understanding the digital cameras is a completely different world.
Yeah.
So they made this big switch, and so for them in the recent years, we keep telling them, you need to stock some more film again, because young people now want to shoot film, and
Yeah.
a lot of them have been very hesitant to, because
Mm.
they are like, it was such hard work to switch everything to digital. I do not want to go back to
Mhm.
now introducing film again, and like
It's a lot more and more
it's just like,
steps
yeah.
and
And so a lot of those camera stores were really hesitant to, and they were like, we did so much work to get rid of this. Like, why are you
Mhm.
telling me I need to bring it back? And it's just a little trend, and it's not going to stick around. Like, they worked through getting convinced that digital is so much better. They did not understand why anyone
would even
would
be
be
interested
interested in film in the long run, for the long
for
run. And,
sure.
like, so for years I remember having conversations where it was always like kind of like brushed off as like a little trend and a little hype, and it's gonna die down again. And now in the past 2 years, I would say most of them have come around, and they're like, okay, yeah, we see it. Like it's here. We can't we can't get around. Like every day there's people walking into the store asking for
Asking.
film.
Yeah.
And it's sad because some of those camera stores threw out their whole lab and just don't have a lab anymore. And that's a whole other story that they can't get back into. But at least they're stocking film again and film cameras, and say like, okay, I can't ignore this. There's too many
The
people
wave is
wanting
big
that.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a nice thing for me to see. I feel like when I started working in this industry, it was the analog part of it was so small, and now it's like you'll see tomorrow, like the booth for us with like analogs, there's going to be a lot of people asking like, what's the new thing, like
Oh
what,
my gosh. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I mean, so now this is no longer a trend. I feel like if it is, it's a big enough trend to stay for a little bit.
And then it just, yeah, what's the definition of a trend? Because at some point it's just
Yeah,
this is
everything
cheap.
is a trend
Yeah.
if you think about it. It's fascinating to how did you convince initially like two camera stores that's a little more hesitant? What's the pitch to make them understand?
I mean, it's telling them in the industry, it's a lot of numbers. It's telling them, what B&H can do, or what like bigger camera stores can do with film. But it's also, we can tell them only so much, and show them, community events do a lot. I think them seeing that if there's a photo walk, an analog something event, how many people show up there, and like how much that drive is, I think that helps a lot. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest pitch is the actual photographer going into their store and asking for it. So if you also like, if you live somewhere and your camera store, you don't have a lot of options, or you don't have a lot of film accessible, like go in and ask for it. It actually does something, because the more requests they
Starting to
get, the more,
understand more
yeah,
tangibly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then so a lot of stores like bring in like the basic film stocks, the 5 basic film stocks, and then
Can you list them? If like
I mean, you're like
yeah.
Portra 400, 800, and some HP5 for black and white and stuff. And then they're like, okay, now I have film. Now everyone's happy. But if you go in and ask like for more variety of film, which, at the end of the day, that's our brushes for our art. Like that's what we need. And asking for more variety, they can expand. They just need to get
Yeah.
some more pushes from people, I think.
And every camera, if they do sell film, they have to make sure that people know the safety.
Right.
So I think that's where like it really got a lot of customer because of that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I really, it's fascinating to see. I think I asked a lot of questions before today of what I should expect and what should I know to talk about all the kind of things. And one thing you were telling me was they're gonna be you're gonna see some change of blood. Like maybe you said before previous years you don't see many younger faces, and now there are many people who are taking over their family business, and
It's either that or just like younger staff members, right? And they will tell them, you need to get this. And
yeah.
but I mean, they see that even who wants to work at their camera stores, like the young salespeople, are mostly into film, and they're like, oh, you want to work for me? Okay. And then they're like, yeah, but like I'm interested in
Yeah.
the analog side of this industry. And then that does change a lot, and we see a lot, like that combination of like the owner and the buyer having different interests is very clear.
And can we talk about Roberts?
Yeah, so I work with Roberts, which is why we're here. Roberts, I work with Roberts distributors, which means they distribute Ilford and a lot of the analog brands in our North American market to other camera stores and labs. It's strictly analog. And then there's also Roberts Camera, which is an actual physical camera store and online store in Indianapolis. So they are under the same umbrella, but technically 2 different businesses.
Yeah.
just to clarify that.
And can we say that Roberts is a huge reason that we see a lot of those brand and the film, like accessories, everything in stores physically?
Yeah, a lot of those stores buy it through us,
Yeah.
through Robert's distributor, and their job is it to explain to them that they should have that, and
Yeah.
like make things available and show it to them, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of the camera, like even your pouch, like I know in my bubble
Mhm.
everyone knew about this pouch
Yeah.
before, but then there's camera store owners who do not have Instagram or TikTok and did not know this exists.
One of my favorite moments so far is seeing every time you would introduce me and you would say, "Oh yeah, she made this thing that you carry," and seeing them click of
mm,
like, "Oh,
oh,
she
that's
is
you, yeah.
the face behind this." And
Mhm.
it's fascinating because I don't think I'm who they really expect to have made something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of like how this industry has been changing, I think what we all probably notice way more is how many more labs there are,
They are
right?
so many now.
Yeah,
I feel like a new one keep popping up.
all the time.
You know what, I was talking with my friend, and maybe you would know it better than me. There doesn't seem to be a lab in Queens.
Um, I don't want to say no because I'm sure I'm forgetting something now, and then there is.
Mhm. But it just
um,
seems like because Brooklyn
may
has many labs.
yeah,
Your home lab is in Brooklyn, and
right.
Manhattan has many, many labs. Mostly Lower Manhattan. There's some on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Upper West Side, and Queens doesn't. There's not one that pop out. Like we should find that out.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So you now use exposure therapy.
Mhm.
What made you choose them, and what about a lab do you look for when
Mm.
you go drop off your film?
Yeah, I would try any lab that's close by because at the end of the day, I think my first, point that I would look at is how convenient is it for me? Because I shoot enough that I need the lab to be convenient,
Mm.
and I don't want to have to build up a whole ton of film until I drop it
It's
off.
not a chore. It's
Yeah,
just
it's like
like,
I want to do this like once a week. I want to go to my lab.
is that how often that you drop it off?
Sometimes, yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's phases where I don't have something for a little bit, but like there's definitely phases go every week. And
Yeah.
so I like being able to just on my way to the subway go, right? So
That's how close it is.
yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
exposure therapy is really in my neighborhood, and so I was really excited when they opened up a few years ago, because they're so close. And I actually moved even closer to them by accident my last
You're
time I
like,
moved.
actually, I want to stay around this radius.
And then, I mean, I want my lab obviously to have reasonable prices. But I also think that if I like their service, I'm also happy to pay maybe
Very
$1
premium.
more. I also want like pretty quick turnaround.
And how
You
fast
know,
is
you
that?
want like
I
all the good
know.
things.
We are, even though we shoot film, we are still pretty impatient.
Right. They are, I mean, you can rush it for same day or next day,
Amazing.
for an upcharge. Normally I think it's like 3 days.
That's good.
It depends always on like how busy they are, but
Yeah.
I think standard is like 3 days, and that's totally fine with me. And
Mhm.
then it's also like building I think what's important is building a relationship with your lab,
Mhm.
if you shoot a lot,
That is true.
so that they kind of know what you want and what you're looking for.
Exactly. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Like, I think people, if you just started shooting film, which is me a couple years ago, that I didn't realize how important the labs is,
Yeah.
right? Like you're doing your job in camera,
Mhm.
and once you drop it off, half of how your photo looks like depends on the lab. You know how
Oh
they
yeah.
do your thing,
Yeah.
how they process your thing, how they if do they see the way that you do, and I think I've tested out so many ones to realize sometimes, not all the time, a bad photo it wasn't necessarily mean that I took a bad photo. There might be chances that the lab didn't know what to look for.
Mm.
They're not familiar with the way that you see the world, how saturated or desaturated that you
Mhm.
want. Do you want a shadow to be open more? Do you want a high contrast? There are so many things, and it left. So for the longest time, I was going to Nirutsu, and I come to realize that I actually don't really want a flat scan. I wanted the scan to
To
be,
clarify, Noritsu is a type of film scanner that a lot of labs have.
yes,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be newer, I think, in terms of comparing. There are generally two different scanners on the market right now, which they're both old.
yeah.
And it's
They
Niritsu.
all run on like Windows 98 or something.
Yeah,
It's
if it
crazy.
breaks, it's
Yeah.
not easy to fix. And there are Niritsu and they are Frontier. And usually it's Frontier SP 3000, I think, mostly. They have a big difference between them, I would say,
Just like how the photo comes out.
how
Yeah.
the photo comes
Yeah.
out. I think Niritsu, a lot of fashion photographers tend to use it, and it's the more popular option in the US. And what I realized is when I was looking up European and Asian work, like on film, they all have that certain tone, and
Mm.
I'm very sensitive to red.
Mhm.
And their red is usually a little more orange and more blue in some ways,
Mhm.
and I could never figure out why. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, maybe it just how Europeans scan their film. I don't know. Like it must be a stock that they use. And then I realized it was actually just Frontier.
Mm.
And most labs in Europe and Asia, they still use Frontier scans. And Nurtsu, for some reason, which I actually talked to Neil about this, and he said they just have a really good marketing team in the US that they took over the US market.
Mm.
So more labs use Nurtsu
Mhm.
and gives more flat skin, so you have a lot to work with
Mhm.
after. And
Which is also it's that is, to be fair, like it's a very much just a subjective, like what
it
you like more, right?
completely,
But I think, to your point, I
yeah,
think what I also learned at some point is that, because I was very much, I tried to be pure about film, and I was like, I'm not going to edit my photos, as you know, or I
you're
only do the
totally okay editing.
right. But like, until I understood that even which type of scanner you use, and like that your lab is doing all the edits for you, because like scanning a photo with this scanner or with that scanner is already
And edit,
such a difference that it's like a choice.
it is
And there is no, this is just how the photo came out and I'm not going to edit it. No, that's not how it came out,
no,
because this is because your lab made choices for you.
exactly.
So when I realized that, and when I understood that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to edit the shit out of it, but at least like I'm going to make that choice, and I want to make some of the basic choices what it's going to look like.
Yeah,
I mean, I now scan at home, but I know
yeah,
someone like exposure therapy, I can talk to them of like what way to scan it, or I
yeah,
want like less contrast, or I want like more saturation. Like, you tell them once, and
tailored
then
to.
they know, and like they'll do that for
And
you.
I think most lab actually have the option. You just have to talk with
Right.
them. And that was one thing, like I was trying to think of analogy, and I think this might make sense for younger or digital shooter. It's like there are so many camera brands, and the color science is different. So some people like to shoot Sony, some people like to shoot Fuji for a specific tone that you can edit later on into
Mhm.
the way that you like it. And also, it's just a preference. Which file is easier for you to play around with?
Right.
And so, yeah, like Canon, Nikon, all of it is a preference. And also, I don't know anyone to shoot a photo and not edit at all,
Mm.
like even from digital. So it's the same deal, right? Like you find a format, a color science that you really enjoy. You can work easier in the process later on, and you add in your own personal touches, and then there comes a final photograph.
Yeah.
So it's silly to say you shouldn't edit your film, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, there's such a wide variety of what that means, but I think
mhm,
like the basics, that if you don't do it, your lab will just default to something. I think that's an
will
edit that
do
is like
more. Yeah,
absolutely, that's up to you. Like, that's a choice you have. So
yeah.
that's kind of like how picking your film stock. So it's
Exactly. At
yeah.
the end of the day, if it's really a photo that touches someone's heart, I think it could be digital. It could be literally
Yeah,
any kind of photo. And a
totally.
good photo is a good photo.
Yeah.
Right.
We do have to go to a
Wrap it up.
dinner right now.
So maybe we
So
should wrap up.
we can wrap up for now and then
Yeah,
decide if we do more.
sure. I wanted just to give a shout out to my lab as well.
Yeah.
If we do keep this part, and I use CRC, Color Resource Center. Actually, Birgit put me into them, and they're not in my neighborhood. They're kind of out of the
Oh, but they're
way.
close enough for
They're
you.
close enough. I can bike over. But one thing I do love about them, they are just professional for over 30 years. They know what to look for. And I think my old soul, my nostalgic heart, really appreciate that kind of judgment towards my photo. So I rarely edit my film, not because that I don't have to, it's just because I choose to, like, they know what I like and they do it the way that I really appreciate. And
They have the scanners you want.
they have the scanner I want, and their staffs are so good with skin tone, and that's a huge thing I look for. And the green, the red, everything, and the turnaround is next day, which
And
is
they have a dip
incredible.
and dunk
They have a dip and dunk.
developer, which that's something to look into too. If your lab has that, that's awesome because that's kind of like the OG way of how
You
to.
know, when Neil also explained what dip and dunk to me the other day, well, he said, like when you do facial,
Oh.
you wanna take your time. So one step, like you're gonna clean your face very well. You're gonna put on moisturizer. I don't know why he knows so much about
That's
facial.
hilarious. That's his.
Yeah, and then he said
Okay.
once you take your time with each steps, the product actually sink in, and you actually like the result is actually going to show up. Like every chemical actually is going to do its best job when you leave it the right amount of time. Comparing to something that's a little faster, it could still look the same, but you could see the tiny bit of
Yeah.
a difference. So I thought that was really fascinating when he talked about dip and dunk, comparing it to facials, which I don't
That's
even
hilarious. Yeah.
do. But anyways, so
Yeah.
so thank you so much for coming to listen to our third episode. A little on a roll. Catch you
See
next
you
time.
next time.